What is going on, guys? Andrew Hayes here, back with another review. And today I'm not reviewing a newer movie. I'm actually reviewing a movie that is older, 20 years old, or about 20 years old. And that is Scream. Now, Scream is directed by Wes Craven and stars Neve Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox. And it is about a teenage girl played by Neve Campbell, who is tortured and gone after by a killer a year after her mother's death. Now, with that being said, before I really get into it, there will be major spoilers. Even though it is 20 years old, I will discuss it because it is 20 years old. You should have really seen it by now. But I'm warning you anyway, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it because I absolutely love this film. It is one of my favorite horror movies and one of my favorite films of all time. So please, I suggest you go see it and then come back. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into it. Now, I absolutely love this film, like I said. And before I really talk about some of the big plot points in it, because, there is a, I guess a twist or a reveal on who the killer is. And I saw this movie for the first time when I was 3 years old. It was completely on accident. My parents were watching it, and I, was asleep when they put it on. And I woke up in the middle of it. And they were both asleep, and I wasn't. And I saw it, and I was just so terrified. And it stuck with me, for most of my, childhood. I had nightmares about Ghostface and, all that fun stuff, even though it wasn't really fun. Anyway, after, even though I really, at this point, I really didn't remember most of it. All I could remember was Ghostface. I did, when I got old enough, or, not really old enough where I should have seen it, but I did see Scary Movie. So, when I finally saw Scream for, I guess for the real first time, because it can't really count the third, when I saw it when I was 3, because I really didn't remember it. And I wasn't really watching it to watch it. I was watching it because I was watching it because it was on. I couldn't move. I don't know why. I was 3. I was stupid. Anyway, I wasn't surprised by who the killer ended up being because Scary Movie is a spoof of Scream, so I kind of figured that. So when the killers were revealed to be Billy and Stu, Matthew Lillard, and Skeet Ulrich character, I wasn't surprised because of Scary Movie. With that being said, I still love it. And I'll tell you why. It is, even though I wasn't surprised, a friend of mine who actually earlier this year, I watched it with him. He had not seen Scary Movie. He had not seen Scream. Constantly, I was asking him who he thought the killer was at certain points of the movie. And not once did he say it was Billy or Stu. He always said, oh, I thought it was the principal, or oh, I thought it might be the dad, or oh, it might be Randy, or it might be this person. And, obviously it didn't end up being. So I really commend Scream because they have all these red herrings throughout the movie, because even though I wasn't shocked because of Scary Movie, which kind of ruined it for me, obviously someone who hasn't seen either film was genuinely surprised and genuinely didn't know. So I think just that's how they did that was masterful, because I watched it to just kind of get fresh thoughts on the film, and just little things I noticed because I watch it all the time, and it is one of my favorite movies. I love how because Ghostface attacks Sydney, which is played by Neve Campbell, and Ghostface leaves, and then all of a sudden Billy shows up. That sets off major red flags. And then he drops a phone because Ghostface's main thing is he likes to play with you. And he calls you. And he just toys with you. Kind of gets in your head. And then he attacks you. So, he gets arrested, obviously, because she calls the cops. And Matthew Lillard, presumably, or it has to be Matthew Lillard because there's two of them, or Stu. He ends up calling Sydney while Billy is in jail because he's in jail. He can't call. But, that honestly has to, you would think that immediately it can't be Billy because, he was in jail, but, it ended up being a Billy. So I thought that they did that really well. And they also, because there were a lot of hints that it could very possibly have been the dad, and because it is 1 year after his wife's death, and how they were setting it up. It could have set him off. He could have went crazy, all that jazz. And I thought they, did that really well. And honestly, when they did reveal it to be Billy and Stu, they do go the route. We were gonna blame it on the dad, and they were going to frame the dad and have him die and have them be the only two surviving members. Obviously, that didn't work out because Sydney wins in the end. But I really like how they did it. Now, it does make fun of the horror movie genre, which I love. It makes fun of all the cliches. It's very meta, which I really like about it. One of the things Billy says when he does the big reveal, that him and Stu, which I'll get into that. He says movies don't make the killers; they only make them more creative. So there's a lot of movie references in there, and just a lot of just references to horror movies in general. And one of my favorite things is they have this big party because they're kind of celebrating because all classes are canceled because of this killer. So they're watching Halloween, and Randy, who is played by Jamie Kennedy, is watching it, and he's sitting there, and whatever part he's at, he's like, "Oh no, Jamie," because Jamie Curtis is in Halloween. He's like, "Oh, Jamie, don't do that, don't do that." And it's funny because I noticed it in this recent time. At the same time of him going, "No, Jamie, he's right around the corner. No, watch behind you, Jamie." Ghostface is right behind him, right around the corner, right behind him, and he's Jamie. So I think that's really funny and really cool how Jamie Kennedy is telling Jamie Curtis to watch out when he should be the one watching out. And what I honestly love about this movie is on how smart it is. Like I said, I love how smart it is with, how they say, "Oh, Billy could be a possibility," but then they do the whole thing where he's in jail and, it can't be Billy. Can't. And how it could be, a bunch of different people. And it's still, not that I'm too terribly scared of it now because I've seen it so many times, but it's definitely very tense. I'm definitely not saying scared, but I don't want to even say terrified, but I'm definitely, you could feel the tense moments. And you want, people, like Sydney and Tatum to get away, in which, honestly, I think Tatum's kill is the coolest. Tatum's death, rather, is the coolest in the movie. Dies from getting lifted up by the garage door and, getting stuck in the garage door, the thing that pulls the garage door up. I think that's really cool. Now, I think... even though when I first initially saw for the first time, I did not know who Drew Barrymore was. I did not know how big she was. I think that's really cool how she was the biggest build person in the movie. She was the top build person, and how they kill her off right at the bat. It shows you that they're not playing games around. And that scene, let me explain the scene and why I love it. I love it because, it seemingly starts off as just like something like it was a missed call, and or not a missed call. Someone dialed the wrong number, but and he seems harmless at first, but then she keeps on hanging up, and the one thing that always sticks out to me is she says, "Listen here, asshole," and then he immediately snaps and he's like, "Listen here, I'm gonna gut you if you don't shut up right now." And I just love how how he switched he flipped the switch and he went from kind of, I don't want to even say nice, but he went to calm, cool and collected to crazy in an instant. And I really, really love that. And the guy who voices Ghostface, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he does a fantastic job in this movie. And I really let me talk about some of the characters before I get to the big reveal. I'm going to save that towards the end. But I love the relationship. I love the performances of all the characters, first of all. And I really like the relationship they have with all of them. I like the relationship between Dewey and Gale Weathers, played by David Arquette and Courtney Cox. And I love the relationship that Sidney has with everybody. And I love the relationship, especially with Billy and Stu, too, because, they're the killers. But I really love the relationship with Billy and Sidney, because, it's kind of weird after, he shows up, drops the phone, and he gets arrested, and, is he the killer or not? And she doesn't know. And even after he got released, you could see the doubt in her, because they have an interaction, and she still questions him. And even after they have sex for the first time, because she's a little wary with having sex. Even after they have sex the first time, she asks, who'd you do the phone call to? Who was your one phone call when you were in jail? Because she's implying, did you use your one phone call on me? Personally, I got a theory on who the one phone call is. I honestly think that, because he says he called his dad. But I personally think he called Stu. Tell Stu, call Sidney, so it makes everything get off of my back. Like, it can't be me. And that's what I really think. And I'll get into another theory a little bit later on. But one of my favorite scenes, probably my second favorite scene, my first favorite scene is the reveal, but I'll talk about this one because it's really hilarious. Randy is a nerd, and he's kind of the movie guy, but he's a nerd, and he watches all these horror movies. And one of my favorite scenes is when he starts talking about the rules of horror movies, and he goes, rule number 1, you can't have sex. And everybody's going nuts. Everybody, because they're all at a party, they're drunk, they're going nuts. Rule number 2, they can't drink or do drugs. Everybody's still going nuts. And my favorite part, rule number 3, never say you will be right back. And Stu proceeds to get up and goes, you want a beer, Randy? And he goes, yeah, sure, I'll be right back. And everybody's just going nuts, and it's a fun time because even though it is a horror, it's really, really funny at times, and that's what I really like. Because the funny moments are hilarious, and the scary moments are pretty scary. Now, I'm going to talk about my favorite scene is when Billy and Stu are revealed to be the killers. And now, this is just me. I think a bad guy or a villain, not even like a serial killer, but like just a bad guy in general, is only as good as his motive. And they have a fantastic motive. And even the one line that sticks out to me is that he says, you ever think that we don't need a motive? Norman Bates didn't have a motive. They never determined why Hannibal Lecter liked eating people. The unknown is scary, and I really agree with that. But even though when they do give the motive, which pretty much he's like, Billy killed Sidney's mom because Sidney's mom slept with Billy's dad, causing Billy's mom to leave Billy's dad, and he just got so upset he killed Sidney's mom, and framed it on Cotton Weary, who they thought killed Sidney's mom. And then he's like, and then he decides to go and kill Sidney, which I think is a fantastic motive. And Stu's motive, rather, is very funny too. It's simply just peer pressure. And Stu is one of the funniest characters in the movie. Even when he's about to die, he's like, when Sidney calls the cops, and he's like, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me. And I just love that. And it's just so funny. But anyway, I personally think that out of all the, I guess, serial killers or like horror icons, personally to me, Ghostface is the scariest, and I'll tell you why. It's because, I know Freddy and Jason and Mike Myers can't die, but in a sense, Ghostface can't die either. Because Ghostface is the scariest to me because Ghostface can literally be anyone. It could be the person you trust the most. To Sydney, it was her boyfriend, for God's sakes. And I don't know about you, but I would trust my significant other. And just for the fact that my significant other would be end up being the killer, the person that is killing all my friends, killed my mother, and is trying to kill me, that's scary. Scary because you never know who to trust. And in a sense, because in the sequels, obviously in the sequels, Ghostface comes back. He never really dies either, because even though the person being Ghostface dies, there's a new person that's going to come back and be Ghostface, and I think that's that alone is scary. Now, I did mention that I was going to say a theory. The theory is that there's actually a third killer. And I'm not going to go in explaining what the theory is. I'm just going to explain, who the theory says the third killer is. They say the third killer is Dewey, and which is cool. And funny considering the fact that he ends up being the killer in or his character counterpart in Scary Movie ends up being the real killer. But really go check it out. It's really cool. It's very interesting. Makes a lot of sense. Personally, I don't because of the sequels, but I think it's still cool to check it out. Anyway, that's all for today. Please comment, like, subscribe. Or I gotta rate this movie. Silly me. I give this a 10 out of 10. Like I said, it is one of my favorite horror movies, or just one of my favorite movies in general. It's probably top 10. I absolutely love this movie. And I'm not a big horror guy. And this is my favorite horror movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe. Please be on the lookout for my next review. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later.